What's happening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And when talking NBA, I'm joined by my man Everett Terry Jr., aka Sports Talk Terry, on all social media platforms. Now, I sent you a rundown, and out the gate, I'm going to send you a curveball on the rundown. So I was doing a
Oh,
little bit of research, and by research, I mean Google. Shout out, see the God. And I saw the rumor. I want to get your opinions on this. I know where I sit on this, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to get your opinions on it. The Milwaukee Bucks are rumored to be a interested party in acquiring Jimmy Butler. Now, at
come on,
first
man.
glance, I was like,
Come on,
why
man.
would you? Why would you? But that doesn't make sense. Why would you do? But I don't know how true this is. But Dame Lillard and Jimmy Butler are supposed to be good friends, so that could be a reason why. But from a pure basketball sense, just from a straight basketball nuance or basketball aspect, I think it would fit. Personality wise, I don't think it would fit. The
Hell
same.
no, it ain't gonna fit personality wise.
Well, okay,
You know why?
but
Giannis cares. Jimmy don't care. Giannis, all Giannis do is wake up, play with his baby for an hour, and ball. That's all. He is the European version of Kevin Durant. All he want to do is play ball. He don't care about nothing else. All Durant don't even brush his hair. He gets up and he goes to the gym. That's it, and plays ball. And Giannis is the European version of that. He just gets up, he plays with his kid for an hour, and then he goes and plays ball all day. That's all that he does. Jimmy don't got that energy. Jimmy want to be an emu, and Jimmy want to sit there and argue people on social media, and he want to,
that's
date reporters and all that, and have baby mama drama. Giannis ain't got time for none of that. Giannis want people that want to play ball and win. They're in Milwaukee for crying out loud. There's no social life. This ain't Miami. There's no beaches. There's no half naked women walking around. None of that. All you got is a cold city that has a high murder rate and the ball, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, their football team is Green Bay, and they're Green Bay, Wisconsin, so they're not exactly right next to Milwaukee,
and the
but close
Brewers.
enough.
Don't forget about the Brewers. The Brewers are big.
Oh yeah, the
They have
Brewers who
they
come
have
out of
one of
the
the
NL
more
Central.
diverse fan bases
Yeah,
in
they come out of the NL Central, and they do pretty well year after year, but they never really have that superstar in their lineup. They went out there and got Christian Yelich, and he stays hurt. His back is pretty much close, but that's another conversation for another day. Um, they are a team that basketball is life. It's their draw. It's what makes Milwaukee relevant. And Jimmy don't want to be there. Jimmy wants to go. I mean, his ego would clash too much with LeBron to play in LA. There's no way he's gonna go to the Clippers. He wants to go to one of them places where he can go be Jimmy and still have a chance to compete deep into the playoffs. And to be honest with you, Miami can compete deep into the playoffs, but he don't want to be the engine that stirs the drink. He wants to be the secondary or tertiary contributor who comes in, only has to play like 30 games a year. They're going to make the playoffs with or without him, and then he can come in and then turn up for like 2 or 3 games a series, and then just go back to being Jimmy. That doesn't work in Milwaukee. They have a system that works. Now, do I agree that they need another piece? Absolutely, because they don't have enough. But the other piece, and this is the most important piece, Pat Riley has already said, we not in the business of trading people. Guys on our team honor contracts. You signed a deal to be here. We expect you to be here. You can say you want to get traded all
fire
you
Stan
want.
Van Gundy in the middle of a contract. Didn't he fire Stan Van Gundy? Dude, miss me
People
with
people
that
get people
with
get
that
fired.
honor
People get
honor
fired.
by
People get
convenience.
people
I
get
am
fired
not a
every
Pat
day and they
Riley
don't
dude.
do their
I didn't mean to
job.
interrupt you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
I mean,
sorry. Go
people
ahead.
get fired. People get fired from their job for not being good at it every day. But it's the difference between getting fired from your job because you're not doing the best job that you can do to put your organization or company in the best position to be successful, and going to work and saying, "Hey, I know I work at Burger King, but I want you to trade me to McDonald's." No, you paid to work here, or don't work here. Like we're not going to do this. Like you're a manager. I hired you to work here. Honor the agreement to work here. That's what Jimmy is. And the problem is Jimmy don't got no leverage. He's under contract. He's 36, 35, can't stay healthy. And at this point, he's a marginal version of what he was in his prime. Marginal version.
All right, all right, all right. First of all, let's talk about leverage. Jimmy got leverage. Jimmy got leverage. Jimmy
What
want
leverage do
more.
we
Jimmy
got?
got leverage. He can go. He can go out there and just go through the motion, two step. All I do
Okay.
is two step. All I do is two step.
Okay.
That's the leverage.
Okay.
And you know what? You got to pay him. So here's the thing about that, and this was supposed to be. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm not doing this dance with you. I'm going to look at this strictly from the Milwaukee Bucks side. The Milwaukee Bucks lost something when they got rid of Drew Holiday. And again, you had an analytic guy that runs that front office. He made a trade based on analytics, and it didn't work out. Now, backdrop from what I understand, reading between the lines, there was a belief in the organization that they were going to be losing Giannis and that they were kind of welcoming the idea of rebuilding because of having to pay everybody. Then it became a legitimate chance of getting Damian Lillard, so they jumped all in. Once they got Damian Lillard, it was like, all right, now we've got Giannis. Now we got a 2-3 year window. We're going to seize the moment. With that said, they were believed, it was kind of like they were ready to retire. And they said, oh, we got Saquon Barkley. Okay, then I think I'll come back and play for the Eagles. And no one in that front office said, nah, bro. Nah, Kelsey. You wanted to retire. Mentally, you checked out. Let's just go ahead and finish walking through that door. We love you. Here's a gold watch, but we want to let you go. So now I take you there to bring you here. Milwaukee does need a shakeup only because Chris Middleton has been in and out of the lineup. And last I checked, Doc benched him. So they need a shakeup. But I don't believe the shakeup is Jimmy Butler. Only because much like a woman doesn't want to hear this, organizations don't want to hear, or veterans don't want to hear this, they need to get a little younger. We need to get a little younger, babe. We need to get a little younger, Giannis. They need to get younger, some inexperience. Now, the guy I would love to see them go after, and you're gonna go, and then you're gonna log off, and you're gonna be playing cards. You're gonna think about it and say, that actually makes sense. The guy I think they should go after, and you just let me finish my thought before you react.
Okay.
It's Kyle.
All right.
It's Kyle Kuzma. That's a guy I think they should go after. By bringing in Kyle Kuzma, first of all, you've got a guy that won a championship before. So he knows how to be that third wheel. But you also got a live wire, independent thinker who is going to come in and say, oh, we supposed to go this way? Oh, Giannis supposed to get it? Oh, my bad. I thought I was going to shoot. That's the guy you need right now, Milwaukee. You need a little disruption, but you need a guy who has enough talent to warrant a disruption every once in a while, and a guy that's a little bit off the beaten trail. Now, second part about that is if you make that trade, that means you are banishing a guy who was a fundamental piece to Washington. That is cruel. That could lead you to a curse of a franchise type move. When you trade a guy to Washington, look no further than the Sixers. The Sixers traded Moses Malone to Washington, and they went to one NBA Finals since. Been out of the first, been to the Eastern Conference Finals once since, and they traded Uncle Moses, was that 85? So it's been 40 years? When you trade guys
Yeah,
who perpetually
they went there
bad
on the
teams,
AI finals run.
yeah, but AI only won 50 games once. AI only won 50 games once in his career in Philadelphia. Like, about that. AI got a statue, all that. One man only won 50 or more games once in his career with Philly. So the point is, though, I think Kyle Kuzma would be a better fit. But do you trade Chris Middleton to Washington? Can you do that to that dude? Do you do that to that dude? But the fact of the matter is, what's the brother's name? His dad played in Gary Trent Jr. hasn't given him much. He hasn't done much. They haven't been able to fill that athletic. Well, Giannis has made some tremendous changes to his game. He's added the Dirk step back, which only person I've ever heard talk about it is Gilbert Arenas. But if you watch Giannis play as much as I do, you notice that you've seen a guy take moments of the game where he's not sprinting down the floor now. He's actually adding a one-step pull-up, and he's also adding the Dirk step back, which if you add a consistent 40,
Jumper to his game.
46% or higher to Giannis's game with his ability to post up,
He's
with
back
his
to being
ability
the
to get
best player in basketball.
exactly. So that's what I think. Now, staying with this point, I believe the Bucks are poised for a run. I said it last year and it didn't work out. But I said it 2 years ago and it did. I believe the Bucks are poised for a run, but they've got to make that. They've got to make a trade. And to me, Kuzma makes the most sense. What say you?
I actually don't hate the Kuzma deal at all. Kuzma makes a lot of
Oh,
sense to him.
look at that. Look at
Well, because
God.
Kuzma is a three who can stretch to the four. Bobby Portis comes in and spells Brook Lopez, and then Kuzma can move to the floor because he's a decent rebounder and he gives them versatility because he can play multiple positions. And he's a young guy who's athletic, can get up and down the floor, good knockdown shooter, and needs to get away from Washington. We've already seen that that is not the place. That is the place where players' dreams and careers go to die. Like you're not going to get anything else out of him from him being there. Um, Another place that I personally think that would make a lot of sense, although I don't know if they got the juice to do it, is Jonathan Kuminga. You want a disruptor? You want
Ain't
a
happen.
15, 18 point per game disruptor who can come in and knows he's going to get starter minutes in that lineup? Imagine putting him, Lillard, and Giannis on the floor at the same time. Now Kuminga's happy. He's rejuvenated. He's playing basketball at a 20-point per game level. Golden State gets from under having to worry about him anymore, and they probably don't take back a Chris Middleton, although Chris Middleton does help them because they've never really replaced Clay. But that's another guy that again he comes in, he just has to sit out in the corner and knock down threes. Makes a lot of sense for them. Makes a lot of sense for the Bucks. Kaminga is another guy I'm looking at. Maybe even, although they started winning, so I don't know if it happens now. Maybe calling up Sacramento and seeing if they're willing to part with a young guy like a Malik Monk. But now they're winning, so they're not going to do that now. Your Kings, Doug Christie came in there and got them rolling again,
Yeah,
so
he's got a
they ain't
roll.
trading
Yeah.
anybody. They're all in on trying to win. So that's
Yeah.
out. But that was a trade just a week and a half ago that we talked about. So
Yeah.
what a difference a week and a half makes. But anyway, no, I think that the Kaminga piece is another piece to look at. Kuzma, Kaminga, like anybody of that ilk, that second to third tier scorer guy, that's a good piece for them.
I think though with Kuzma and with you got to consider you add a guy that's got a championship under his belt. Like I know what people think about Kyle Kuzma, excuse me, and it's warranted. But what you also need to understand is this is a guy that was picked to help me out, because I don't want to misspeak here. He was one of the second. He was one of the last picks in the first round. He was a guy that the Lakers took with a Brook Lopez deal when they traded Brook Lopez to the Nets or whatever have you. Kuzma is self-made. People weren't talking about him going into the draft, and he was a guy that developed and turned into not just a viable piece, but also a dependable piece for a championship team in Los Angeles. He's played through distractions. He's a guy that's kind of all over the place. Los Angeles misses that. They miss that in the locker room. They miss that spontaneity. The guy that's going to wear like a purple turtleneck and green pink bell bottoms. Like you miss
Oh
that life.
man, the clothing stuff, he can leave where it is. Like I don't know what's
But
up with that.
it's
Like that,
funny. It lightens the mood up, dude. It's a long season. I get what you're saying,
he
though.
come in there
But
dressing like
he can be
Debo, looking all
serious when
crazy.
you need to see it. I don't see it in Kaminga. And that's a story for another day. I don't think he helps them. Bringing in that championship pedigree, it keeps Dame in all right, well, this dude's got a ring and I don't mindset. It keeps Dame in the pantheon of a guy that's trying to get what everybody else has got. And it puts Kuzma back in the games that matters. And it gives Giannis an opportunity to get a guy who can also, because this is where he struggles with Dame, and this is where Doc has struggled at times. The only one who can score outside of a half court set is Giannis. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Dame Lillard, they can't score outside of a half court set. So what that means in layman's terms is if it's transition basketball, if it's one dribble or if it's one pass, you're in trouble because the only one that can do that is Giannis. So you're not going to get any easy buckets. You're not going to get any early shot clock buckets. Kuzma's a guy that can do that with Giannis. So you can take Lillard off and you can allow somebody else to run an offense. And Washington would take Chris Middleton. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Washington would take Chris Middleton. Ain't nobody else taking Chris Middleton at this juncture of his career. He's a shell of what he used to be. Now, the bigger point is, and the bigger question for you is, where do we stand on the Milwaukee Bucks right now? And the reason why I asked that question is we just called Cleveland get the doors blown off of them. You don't believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe in them to reach the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't believe in them to reach the NBA Finals. And I think it's either going to be Boston, Milwaukee that takes them out. So we can get to Boston in a second. But where do you think the Milwaukee Bucks stand right now?
They're about where they've been. They're
Do you think they're a
anywhere
viable
between
threat to make
two.
it to the NBA Finals? Let me change the question. Good point. Let me make me sharper. Iron sharpens iron. Make me better. Do you believe the Milwaukee Bucks are a viable option to reach the NBA Finals?
Define viable because do I think they have a shot? Sure, they got
Negro,
a puncher's
almost made
chance.
me call you a racial slur. You know what I
I'm
mean.
about walk with me for a second. Walk with me for a second. So I'm gonna say, yeah, they have a puncher's chance. But I will say the same thing that I have said, and I've said it ad nauseum. And every time I say it, I get a side eye from you. As long as one Mr. Glenn Doc Rivers is their head coach, I do not believe in them in the playoffs.
Okay.
He's a great regular season coach. But
Okay.
you got to show me when you're playing against a Joe Mazzulla that
Okay.
you can make the adjustments to win. He hasn't shown us that. He hasn't shown us that except for 2008 with a full roster of Hall of Famers and a Rajon Rondo he bumped into because Sam Cassell was the guy they went and got to be the starting point guard who got hurt.
Yeah.
Rondo started and took the job and he never played again. Point I'm making is it wasn't like Glenn Doc Rivers made this astronomical coaching adjustment in order for them to win. No, you play with Hall of Famers, you're supposed to win. That's why the Laker debacle in '04 was so awful with Kobe, Shaq, Malone, and Gary Payton because they were supposed to win. So the point I'm making is until he shows you he can coach where equal talent is equal talent, he doesn't have a roster full of Hall of Famers, although people will argue both Lillard and Giannis are future Hall of Famers, you still have to show people that you can win with those guys. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nobody has coached more individual NBA talent in their entire coaching history than Glenn Doc Rivers and not one. So until
I
he
agree with
wins, I don't want to hear nothing about how great the team is. Show me that he's getting out to the finals with that roster, then we can have that conversation.
I cannot refute, dispute anything you say. I can't. What I will interject is this. Well, first, let me just on your Hall of Fame comment. You left out somebody who, numbers wise, will probably be considered years down the road, and that's Brooke Lopez. Numbers
Yeah,
wise,
yeah, years wise,
years
yeah.
down the road, it'll be based on the pedigree of the Hall of Fame. Now, and I don't want to slide him out because that's a pet peeve I have after the article I wrote about Reggie Miller. Now, all great points by you. I often say this in defense of Coach Rivers, and I want to throw that out there again. Show me a guy that got further without Doc, outside of Chris Paul, who made it to one NBA Finals with Devin Booker and who was the coach at that point in time? I can't even remember who the coach of Phoenix Suns was at that time. That led them to the
Giannis already has a ring. So what are we talking about?
yeah, but Chris Paul made it to the NBA Finals without Doc. He's the only player coached by Doc who made it further without him. And people like to say Doc has had a lot of talent. Man, you
Giannis
can't.
already has a title without Doc.
No, I'm saying guys that Doc has coached, then he left the
Oh,
building.
go after him.
Yeah, after Doc. The line of guys that have succeeded when Doc left, meaning so what you're so your argument, and just I want to explain it, is that Doc has fell short. He's underachieved with the talent that he's been given. And that's a very fair, astute point. I'm not disputing that. The only thing I like to add to that point, the only thing I like to put alongside it is the same guys that he's underachieved with, when he's left, they have not overachieved, meaning they have not accomplished anything without it. So if Doc's underachieved with them, they have not overachieved without it. When Doc's left the building, them dudes ain't going into the finals afterwards. Them dudes ain't winning titles afterwards. The only one that made an NBA Finals after Doc that's in that pantheon of great players would be Chris Paul. And we'll
I'm
talk
gonna
about
I'm
Chris
gonna hit
Paul.
you with one, and you're gonna call it a technicality, but it is true statement of fact.
If it's a
Al
fact, it's
Horford played for the Philadelphia 76ers when Doc Rivers was there.
who did?
He left there, went back to Boston, and won a chip. Yes, remember the Sixers signed him with
No,
Elton
no,
Brand. They
who?
fired Al Horford.
No, Al Horford wasn't there with Doc.
He came after Brett Brown got fired, which was after the Jimmy Butler thing. The following season, when they got rid of Brett Brown, they hired Doc Rivers. Al
Yeah, but
Horford was there for a year and a half, but he was hurt most of the time. He couldn't fit the roster, and then they
they
shipped him
traded
off.
they traded Al Horford in the offseason when Daryl Morey came in. You might be right. I have to look it up. You might be right. I will say,
You know me, I'm going to look it up myself.
yeah, go ahead and look it up. I believe they traded Al Horford in that offseason for Danny Green to Oklahoma City. So Doc Rivers never got a chance to coach Al Horford. I actually liked oh my goodness. You always take me out in my lanes. But I wished they had kept Al Horford because Al Horford would have been a perfect piece to that team. The reason why they got they got rid of Al Horford is because Brett Brown didn't have the chutzpah to bench Joel Embiid. But had he played Al Horford at that 5 and put Embiid's butt on the bench, but fast forward, if Doc has Al Horford against the Atlanta Hawks, they beat the Atlanta Hawks. He had Dwight Howard. Had he played Dwight Howard and Joel Embiid together, they beat the Atlanta Hawks. But that's not our point, not our discussion. Moving back to our point.
You know what? I stand corrected. Al Horford got traded at the end
he
of the
got traded right before
season,
for Danny
and
Green.
Doc came in 20. Yep.
So that's the only point I like to run parallel with Doc, is that those guys have never gotten better when Doc's left. But your point is a valid one, and this. I said it last year, but I also said I am a Giannis. That hard work often gets rewarded. Last year, Giannis was hurt. The year before, Giannis was hurt. This year, he's relatively.
3 years he's been. Yeah, the last 3 years he struggled with injury, but this year he's pretty healthy.
Well, it's just about to say this year he's healthy and he's made some adjustments to his game. I just believe that type of hard work always manifests itself on a basketball court. Now, Kevin Durant is the anomaly to that rule because Kevin Durant puts out countless hours into his game and it just doesn't translate on the court. I would have to be around Durant a little more to understand why. I think he's more of a Dr. J type guy where you have to have other dogs around him versus allowing him to be your main dog. Like he can be your best player, but he can't be the leader of the pack. Now, with that being said, going back to Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks, barring any unforeseen injuries, I'm expecting the Milwaukee Bucks to not only take out the Cleveland Cavaliers, but take out the Boston Celtics. I believe in Giannis. I believe in Dame Lillard. And they need to make a move. You're right. They need to make a move. But even if they don't make a move, they've got the size in Lopez and Portis. Pause. No, I don't play the pause game. What am I saying pause for? They got the size in Lopez. I'm saying, but they got the size in Lopez and Portis to defend the paint. They've got the athleticism in Giannis and Portis to get out and extend their defense. They've got the shooting with Lillard and Trent to withstand Boston's barrage of threes. And if you've got a lineup on the court of the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, the best player on the court is Giannis. The best player, hands down, is Giannis. The second best player, you could argue, is the Celtics. Second and third best player, you could argue, is the Celtics. Brown and Tatum,
right.
Take whatever order. I'm saying take whatever order you want. But then 4 through 6, Lillard, Portis, Holiday. So that means that your top 3 out of the 5 are all Bucks. I like the Milwaukee Bucks in that. Floor is yours.
And you know where the caveat is going to tip that skill? Coach, it ain't the Bucks. It's the Celtics by a country mile. Adjustments matter. In playoffs and short series, where you got to see the same team and make the adjustments, Missoula's going to find a way to put those boys in position.
Stop at that light. 2 years ago, did the Miami Heat not happen?
What does Miami Heat have to do with this? What are you talking about?
Joe Mazzulla had the best team. He had the higher seeded team, and they just like, dude, it was an hour ago. Like, you're killing Doc for what happened in the past. I don't want to say fair, but good points, great points. But doesn't that sword cut on the other side too for Mazzulla? Because the Miami Heat happened.
Hold on, who's the defending NBA champions? I'm sorry, somebody told me because I'm pretty sure it's not the Miami Heat. In what year? Are we winding back time? Are we going back 3 years?
We are with killing Doc.
No, the most recent NBA defending champion are the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Not the Miami Heat, and definitely not the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay. Glenn Rivers hasn't hoisted a trophy since all your hair was black. Okay, mine too. So the point I'm making is, Joe Mazzulla was in high school when Doc won a chip. Okay, we're talking about right now. The man hasn't done it at this level in a long time. You can't crush Aaron Rodgers for winning 1 Super Bowl in the 2010s or whatever year it was.
No, I can't. You missing camp to get high, you're getting killed. You missing camp to get high, you're getting killed. Because if your skin had a little bit more melanin in it, if you had a little bit more melanin in his skin, if his name was Malik Rodgers and not Aaron Rodgers, he'd be getting roasted everywhere. But because it's Aaron, it's okay. But go ahead.
We're not doing that. But the argument is, people can't kill Aaron Rodgers for winning 1 Super Bowl in his career 15 years ago and give Doc a pass for winning one NBA championship with 19,000 Hall of Famers on his roster in the same length of time. You got to call a spade and keep the energy the same on both sides. What I'm saying to you is this: when they say in the NBA adjustments matter, coaching adjustments matter, the difference between good teams and great teams isn't, oh, they've got the best group of talent, because we've seen talent win. A lot of times, and you know this because you played sports and I played sports, your coaches will tell you if you lose a basketball game between 0 and 9 points, it's usually coaching. You lose by 10 or more, it's players and effort. Doc
I would
Rivers
say
will lose
4, but I
close
get
games.
you. I'll get you.
Fair. I mean, in Super Bowl in football, they call it a touchdown or less. But
Yeah.
the point I'm making is, in this sport, when coaching matters, Doc, I saw for years living in Philadelphia how many games he didn't properly adjust, how many times he missed on calling the right timeouts, how many times he whiffed on scheduled losses, on games they could have won that would have changed their seating and changed who they were supposed to play. And this is the same guy. This is the man. This is the man you want to name your company after. This is the man you want
Yes.
to trust to take you to the next
Yes.
level.
Yes.
Not going to do it.
Yes.
And the problem with it is people are going to get disappointed. Giannis is going to get frustrated because they got rid of a coach who had one of the best records in the NBA when they fired him for a guy who hasn't won anything since Giannis was a teenager. And yet this is who you trust to get Giannis his second ring. I don't. I don't know why people keep believing in him. I don't know. It's like insanity. Let's keep doing the same thing over and 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 expect something different. Let Doc keep coaching all these talented players, and maybe he'll stumble onto another ring. It's not happening. I'm telling you. Oh, it was the perfect storm. It's not happening, and it's unfortunate because I don't want to root against our guys who do well in coaching. But Doc is a product of, I'm gonna keep doing the same thing I've been doing, keep peddling the same thing, and people won't keep giving me a check to do it, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And unfortunately, the Bucks are gonna get in their own way, one way or another. The personality, he's a player's coach, he let guys do whatever they want, he talks to them all cool, all that's well, wonderful, and fine. But at the end of the day, when you gotta get on that hardwood and you gotta play basketball up and down them feet, 90 feet of court, and make right plays and adjustments, call the right timeouts, and put guys in position to win, that's where Doc is going to get exposed because his mind is still stuck into, well, this is 90s ball. This ain't 90s, sir. This ain't even 2000s. This ain't even 2010s. This 2000 almost 30s. Like your mind needs to adjust to the speed of the game and the way the game is being played. Guys coming down, playing half court ISO, stand in the corner, set a pick, run to the hoop is not the way the game is played anymore. You have to have some sort of emotion offense. Teams that are successful either get up and down the floor a whole lot or have some sort of a system that works. And the Milwaukee Bucks are basically running a two-man game with Lillard and Giannis. And it's great because Giannis has adjusted his game and added some elements. That makes Giannis better. That gives them another element that they can use. But in the playoffs, when teams are going to say, all right, we're going to clog the paint and dare Giannis to beat us from the outside. And now instead of getting 5 or 6 of those jumpers wide open because nobody's closing on them, now they're going to clog the paint and force Giannis to shoot 10, 15 feet away. That one-step dunk from the free throw line isn't going to be as effective as it used to be. That's where you're going to see if Doc can adjust, and that's where I don't trust him. That's me.
All right.
I don't trust him.
That's fine not to trust him, and that's fine. I can't refute anything you just said. But what I will say is this: he has a history of winning, and that's something you cannot overlook. Now, you
Win
don't
what?
trust him.
Regular season?
He's won an NBA title. Like you want to pat Mazzulla on the back with the same with your right hand and with your left foot. You want to kick Doc in the ass. Like, dude, it's got at some point you got to give credit to Doc for at least winning a title. But I believe we got what 10 minutes left in the segment. So what you're saying is the biggest threat for you to Cleveland is the Boston Celtics.
They're the biggest threat to everybody in the East.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we got 10 minutes. I really want to tackle this because it's, I'm a big Wembanyama fan. A lot of people
I
don't
love
know
Wemby.
that.
Love Wemby.
A lot of people don't know that. I'm a big Wembanyama fan. I'm taking my son to the game when he comes to Sacramento. I believe
Future face of the league. 2 years.
I believe San Antonio is underachieved. But the reason why I believe they've underachieved is because of Pop's health issues.
I agree. We agree.
I don't know when Pop will be back.
Or if.
Okay, well, or if. Can the Spurs, do you believe they've underachieved this year?
Yes. You and I talked about this at the end of last season, that we thought that they were going to be a sleeper to not only make the playoffs, but be a decent seed. Yeah, be a decent seed and actually not have to do play and actually be a decent seed because Wemby is that good. They needed to make a couple moves in the offseason. Their moves weren't bad. They added Chris Paul and some other guys. But I think they need
Harrison
another
Barnes, yeah.
scorer. Yeah, they need another scorer. And the big thing is I don't think the usage for Wemby is where it needs to be. There's games where I see Wemby with like 18, 19 points, and I'm like, why? He's 7'4" with the best
Mm,
wingspan in basketball by
mm.
a country mile. He should be taking 20 shots a game, minimum 20 to 25 shots a game. Nobody else should even be looking to shoot until he's touched the ball twice on every possession because he's that dominant. I don't care that he's 190 pounds soaking wet with a heavy coat on in a snowstorm. What I'm saying to you is at 7'4", he can shoot from anywhere. He already is going to probably lock up being one of the greatest defensive players in the history of basketball if he stays healthy. He already has the most blocks and most blocks per game of anybody at his age bracket ever in the
Right.
history of basketball. And he's only going to get better, especially when he learns how to put on weight and manage his body for the rigors of playing a full season. All of that said, you add that element to his game where he gets that next offensive piece, whether it's through trade or through somebody that they draft. And then also he develops his game a little bit more to be more consistent in terms of his shot selection because sometimes he comes out and takes these crazy threes. You get that part of his game going with a guy that can also play off of him like a Batman to a Robin. I thought it might be Devin Vassell. I really like Stephon Castle. I like his game. He's the future of that team. I know you called it. We're going to give you credit. You called it, and I like that
No, I
kid.
wasn't saying that. We were talking about development of players and evaluating talent, and the Spurs always seem to find that guy.
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing that they don't. I'm not arguing that they don't. I've never said that the Spurs don't develop talent. What I'm saying is they still need one more piece. They get that one more little piece
Now,
that
do you
turns the
draft
corner.
the guy or do you trade a guy? Jimmy Butler's available. Kyle Kuzma's the name. I always believe you draft.
Kuzma,
That's me. I
yes.
always believe you
Butler,
draft.
hell no. I'm not bringing Butler's culture and energy into San Antonio. But Kyle Kuzma fits. He fits because he comes in. He's the perfect complement. He doesn't need the ball to score. He's not ball dominant. He can fill in that space role that you thought Barnes would do, but Barnes is towards the back end of his career, just doesn't have it anymore. He's a bench guy. You know, you get him maybe 10, 12, 15 minutes a game, but you let Kuzma take 20, 25, 30 minutes a game, and you put him out there on that floor to space the floor, make the defense respect. Now Wemby has more operating room. If I'm the Spurs and they gave me a chance to make one roster change and one lineup change, my move is I'm starting Stephon Castle and I'm trading for Kyle Kuzma. And my lineup will have Stephon Castle as the starting point guard with Chris Paul coming off the bench. Now he's going to play heavy minutes, 20 to 22 minutes a game, but he's not going to be the starter, primarily because at this point in his career, he's a guy that's better in spurts. Playing for long periods of time doesn't benefit you. You see him get tired. You see his shot doesn't have the same lift that it used to have because he's older. I mean, Chris Paul's around our age. Like he shouldn't be out there running around
Speak for
35, 40
yourself.
minutes
He
a game
ain't,
with
he
you.
ain't my age. He closer to your age. I get you. All right, we
Closer to
got
mine than
5 minutes
yours.
left. We got
But
5 minutes
that's the
left.
point.
Yeah,
That would be the
I
move that I would make to help get that team right.
all right, I completely disagree with you in the sense that they should make a trade. At 19 and 21, the season's done. They're the 12th seed. Even if they go, even if they well, you shake your head, but at 40 games in, you got half a season's done. At this point, it's
The
more
Kings
about
were out of the mix and then won like seven of
yeah,
nine, and they're right
but
back
as
today.
far as building a continuity of being a legitimate playoff threat, I don't think it's worth it. I think you stand better at evaluating your now current and possibly future head coach and
Okay.
developing your now and possibly future guard in Stephen Castle. You talked about getting that third piece. They've shown a pedigree for evaluating, they've shown a pedigree for finding talent late in drafts. Remember, they also traded for Kawhi Leonard when the Indiana Pacers drafted him. And I want to say Kawhi was a 13, 14. You can fact check me on that. So the
Hmm.
point is, they stand better to develop Wemby, develop Castle, develop your coach, put yourself in position to draft someone somewhere between 9 and 14 where you'll fall in the draft, and next year take the jump we thought they would take this year. They've underachieved, period. Wemby has had too many games where he hasn't been dominant. He still is an international player. We have to remember. I have to remember that. In my evaluation of him, I forgot that. It took Pal years to become a dominant game in, game
It
out
did.
player. And by dominant, for people that understand, game in, game out doesn't mean games 1 through 10. It means game 37 in Milwaukee. It means games 46 in Indiana, where he gives you those monster numbers like, whoa, took Dirk years to get there. I mean, let's be realistic, Giannis years to get there. International guys have a different mindset. So I had to take that into consideration. You got to let Castle come in and have monster turnover games. You got to have him come in and fail in front of people. Now is the time to do
Yeah.
it. And 2 games under 500, 2 games out of the play-in, it's not worth it. Give those guys the minutes so they can fail. Only once you fail can you truly
Can you learn to
progress.
succeed?
So,
Yeah.
so then you draft a guy that's a junior or a senior in college. I know those players exist somewhere, but you draft that guy and then you make a run. I don't think you make a trade. I don't think you add a guy.
I don't think they're gonna be bad enough to get the kind of player that would change their franchise at this level.
They've
Because the
been
guy they need,
but they've shown a great job of grabbing that guy at 10, of grabbing that guy at
I'm not
11.
I'm not arguing that, but what I'm saying is the guy that they need is a guy that's already in the league, that's already established, that knows how to play at the speed of the game.
I
I don't
disagree
know
with
who
you,
that
man.
guy is.
I do because the Spurs culture is weird. It's unlike anything I've ever because they've had dysfunction and foolishness in their organization. It just never gets out. Like it just never gets out.
Of course.
They've had things happen. You'd be like, what? It never gets out till after the fact. And I'm not going to go public with stories, but they've had some of the most egregious things you can ever imagine happen in that organization during the season. It just never gets out. So the Spurs culture is different like anything that I've ever seen before. We got a minute left. So, you say make a trade, I say stand pat, but we both agree they've underachieved. And
Yes.
but that underachievement, and you'll agree with me on this, could prove to be the seeds that they've sowed for success. Because next year, this team will be right for a major step. Wemby, Castle, and that third piece that they find, the coach that they're developing. I forget the coach's name, and I wish I could remember it. I obviously wish I could remember, but I wish I gave him credit because it's a tough spot to be in. You come in thinking you're going to be sitting in the passenger seat when the driver falls asleep and won't wake up. So you're driving, and every 10 miles, you're looking like, is he up? Is he up? Is he up? Is he up? You know what I mean? And that's what he's up right now, going up against with Popovich. So, but I still have faith in Wimbyaba. I still have faith in Paul's
It's
contributions to the
that Mitch
game.
Johnson.
So yeah, and I have faith in the Spurs culture to overtake this. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled. Good show. Much, very good show. I needed that laugh today, man. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. That's Everett Terry Jr., Sports Talk Terry on all social media platforms. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next time, we appreciate your time of year. You be